So it just taught me a lot about sacrificing that, you know, there is always a journey. There are the lucky ones, but most people are going to have to go through a journey. And I
Right.
think people don't think about, hey, there's a journey to get there. Everyone
Right.
sees, like I said, the end of the rainbow, but they never see the journey. And I think that really taught me, hey, no matter what else I do in life, if I want something, I am mentally expecting. I have the managing my expectation. There's a journey. It's probably going to suck and be hard.
Right.
Instead of going there, it's just seeing the light in the tunnel. But okay, there's a journey. There's a journey. Just like tell myself that to start embracing it.
Welcome to the Level Up Podcast. Our goal is that by listening to our podcast, you will be inspired to level up. With the help of some amazing guests, we'll be inspired by some inspirational success stories and find out how you can level up your business, your life, and your relationship with yourself. Because I know that by leveling up and balancing these three aspects of your life, you can make a difference and impact the lives around you. Level Up Podcast will be a series of interviews featuring successful professionals who are making a mark and a difference in their lives and others. They will share their incredible stories of how they did it, so you can be inspired and learn from the very best.
Of
Well,
course.
Min, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. I'm excited to have you. I'm excited to dive into where's Min from? Where did he started? What is his story? I know that a lot of my audience listen to the podcast, and the main thing they're looking for is that inspirational story. What he did, how he did it, and how I can relate to it, and what can I do with this information. So I love to first of all thank you for taking the time. I know you're an extremely busy individual, and just by being here, thank you for the bottom of my heart. So thank you
Of
and
course, I
welcome.
appreciate you
Tell
having
me
me on.
about you. Tell me a little bit about Min.
So I'm Vietnamese. I came here from Vietnam after I was born. 3 months later, we left Vietnam as refugees, came to the United States. We went on a fisherman's boat, an anchovy boat, and it actually got shipped. Like went down, but a U.S. naval ship picked us up, and that's how I came to the United States. Kind of like the
Mm.
story of Moses, where you were saved and preserved, and you went down the little water. You went down the stream, and you survived. So from Vietnam, been in America, got in the mortgage business in 2003. Started as a telemarketer. I took calls in, but we used to fax blast back then when it was legal.
Okay.
My boss would do it, and I sat in the market from 2003 up until today. When the market
Okay.
crashed in '08, I moved back home with my parents, put my tail between my legs like most people, and rebuilt again. So
Got it.
I've kind of made it, lost it so many times. And every time I have made it through the industry, I kind of pick up a little bit more and a little bit more. And hopefully this is my last time where, I lost a lot in 2017 when the market did not turn. I just, I had a bunch of loan officers that worked for me that, we were funding about 68, 70 million. I was making 75 basis points. So if you know the numbers, it was pretty good money. And
Pretty good
one by
money back
one,
then.
each person was recruited to go to another company.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when that happened, instead of continually adding on more loan officers and going through this vicious cycle for myself, I
Right.
decided to, do social media because I never want to put myself in a position where I'm not in control again. And I
There you
think
go.
I do have a series that I talk about a
Mhm.
successful real estate career. And
Okay.
one important factor is having, I call it your hose, no, your watering hose. Like, how do
Right.
you get
Right.
your business? And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think myself, a lot of people who are in this vicious mortgage or real estate cycle that we ever establish in the beginning of our careers is like, how am I going to get business and can I do it consistently? And because I didn't establish that for the past 20 years, I couldn't have consistency. And of course, I went through vicious cycles over and over again.
Got it.
So, what's a mortgage? Of course, social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook is my hose that's watering my business, that's allowing me to get to where I'm at. And as the market's shifting, it is a little bit tougher, but overall, it's not as tough for me because I have such a well established hose to keep feeding my engine.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I do want to tap back into the beginning. So you came in when you're a baby. What was the like growing up? There's any struggles you faced, family? What was that like? Tell me a little bit about the beginnings of Min when he came in, started school, family. Do you have siblings? Tell me about the beginnings of you being here in the US.
When I came here, English was not my first language; it's my second language. So I
Okay.
still have a lot of problems with my grammar and sentence structuring. So
Okay.
my team helps me out a lot of that when I talk on social. So I had to
Okay.
learn. I had to learn. I had to learn English when I came here, since my mom
Mhm.
spoke mostly Vietnamese, and my grandma, my uncle, who pretty much raised me growing up, raised me. My mom remarried when I was 6. My dad was kind of a bad man in Vietnam, so my mom
Okay.
didn't really want me to know who he was. So
Mm.
growing up fatherless, the father I did had, he did his best, but of course, as immigrants, he didn't take a lot of risk in life. So growing up, you know,
Mm.
taking risks were scary for me, even till today, because we just didn't live that lifestyle. So grow up
Okay.
poor, and you know, learning to accept this is life for you, and it took a while to break out of that mold. I just Something in me was just rebellious. I just was a rebellious kid, even though I accepted this is life, this is what you get. Because of what my
Mhm. Mhm.
parents saw on TV and what they were taught. They taught me the same thing, but there's something in me was I just didn't want to buy into it. I knew like, hey,
Right.
this can't be life. So I got in a lot of trouble. Not that much trouble, but enough from my parents, from the school growing up, and
Mhm.
but that rebellious personality allowed me to think outside the box. And I believe, hey, you know, when I left into the mortgage industry in
Mhm.
2003, I went to college,
That's what
and
I was
while
going
I
to
was
ask you.
in
So
college,
tell me about that. So what was your first job, for example? Did you had a
I worked at Wiener
regular job?
Schnitzel. I
Where?
worked at Wiener Schnitzel's for
Oh
4 days.
my
I had a shirt that says America's number one wiener, right? And I couldn't, and I quit because they promoted this girl. Like I joined the same time as this other girl, actually my mom's
God.
friend's daughter. We worked at
Mhm.
Wiener Schnitzel's together, but she got promoted. She was more easier on the eyes when it came to the register, but I'm the one who fixed
Okay.
her till, or her cash, like that she wasn't short to close, or I was balancing hers back when I was 14, 15 years old. I'm balancing
Wow.
her estimate, like, hey, you're off by such and such, or hey, let's
You're
make it,
missing you're missing some money here.
yeah, you're missing money here. So I did all that for her, but she got promoted, and I had to clean toilets. I'm like, dude, 4 days, I'm meant for something bigger than that. Then my
Yeah.
second job, I underwrote hazard insurance for a
Okay.
company, right?
That is
So
awesome.
right out, I went from Wiener Schnitzel's to hazard insurance right away, and of course that company wasn't around that long. I was there for a
Okay.
while, and then I just went to school, and when I went to college, I just started becoming more of that entrepreneur spirit. I had a vending machine business.
That's
When the
crazy.
stores, when the grocery stores went on strike, I had my own organic fruits and vegetable business. So I've been
Okay.
self-employed, for a long time. And of course, in 2003, near the end of 2003, my buddy got a big paycheck, and he's like, "Man, you got to come work with me." He faxed me when it was just e-fax. He faxed me a copy of a check, and it was for 40 something thousand. Whoa,
What
where did
is he
that check
doing?
come from? Were you in a car accident? Is that a claim? He's like, no, man, it's 1 month
Month.
doing mortgages. I'm like, I quit. I dropped out of college,
They're like,
and
I
I
need to
went
do
and I
something.
sold
I
my
need to do
vending machine
something
business.
else.
I took the savings to live on while I figured this out.
Yeah.
So in
But
2003, go ahead.
that's when you came into the mortgage. But you
Yeah,
touched on
summer
something
2003.
very, very interesting, and I really want to point it out. It's you have it within you. Like you want to go ahead and do something bigger than just working for someone. And that is something very, very important that I would like to like expand a little more, because most people again come in with the family, like you said, we have the mold where go get a job, go to college, get a job, work really hard, advance in your career, and you'll be okay, right? But a lot
Correct.
of people like yourself like, no, that's not enough. I mean, just the fact that you started with the vending machines and then with the organic food and stuff, so you already had some of that entrepreneurship within yourself. What do you think that came from? I mean, what was it that made you be like that?
You know what? At an early age, for some reason, I just understand debt to income ratio. So if you
Okay.
make X amount after you have taxes, this is all you have to live on. That's not enough.
That's not enough, and you
That's
see
not
the
enough.
paychecks and you're like, no, they're
Yeah, I'm
taking
like,
too much and there's not
that ain't
enough left.
enough. I saw people with college degrees struggling. I'm like, how are you struggling? Paying student loans, paying back debt that you took out when you were in college. I'm not saying that all debt is bad, but when I
Right, right.
saw the system, and you actually take a step out of the system, you look at the system, I just see this hamster wheel. And like, I don't want to live this way. And I'm at that time in my life where I'm living at home with my parents. I don't have bills. If there's a time for me to strike, it's now. If I
No.
wait till I have kids, or if I'm in a career full time that I cannot, I give up, it's
Hmm.
hard. Not saying it's impossible, it's just harder.
Yeah.
I call it bartender jobs. So when you're a bartender
Hmm.
or valet or something that's a service job that you collect tips, you
Right.
make more than enough than the average person who gets taxed, but not enough to get ahead in life. So once
There
you're in
you
that vicious cycle where you're making money, it doesn't have to be those careers, but let's say you're in this vicious cycle, you're making money, you have bills now. Every day you're working to pay that bill to get the next. It's like life is like a Ponzi scheme, and one day inflation's moving so fast you can't catch up with it. And I
right.
just realized that at an early age.
That's amazing because a lot of times, and again, people don't realize that until they're older, and then they use the excuse of it's too late. Like I'm already in my 40s, I'm already in my 50s. What am I going to do? It's too late for me to even try that. So, having that opportunity, was there anybody that you look up to? Was anybody that you saw doing? Obviously, your friend you mentioned, but was anybody else in your early years that you saw doing something similar or business wise that you said, if he's doing it, maybe I should be able to do something like that? Is any mentors? Anybody?
I think, like I said, my old boss John Carlo, he was like 4 years younger than me. He was a
Wow.
multimillionaire in his 20s, and
Okay.
he didn't have a college degree. And I learned from his father, who was even more successful, but his super frugal guy. And they made it like they were the first ones that I met that were legitimate wealthy people that without a college degree. And the way they talked, there was a I had a lack of like grammar, lack of sentence structuring. You think sometimes you think like you need to be this specific person to make that money. That
Right.
you don't expect, hey, someone who's an immigrant or someone with a lower class of education can change their stars. And when I saw
Totally.
them, it was like, hey, these guys did it. And I mean, there's a season where I sold satellite dishes. The guy who I worked for with actually I met my buddy Giancarlo there, or my boss. He um he was working at a Marie Callender's, and then now he owns this huge direct TV business, and he was killing it. A strong Christian man. He's like, you know what? Bank on God. You don't need to worry about if you work hard. You bank on God. You don't have to worry about the way you speak or what educational background you have. You can change your stars. So his name was Ron, and so seeing Doug, Ron, my buddy John Carlos' dad, just hearing his story, and John Carlos like, hey, you don't need all that. All you need is a will and a way to make it happen. And the
Right.
second thing I learned from like all of them was like, cut your bills, humble yourself, whatever bills you need to cut. I learned recently there's a guy, he's a nurse, but for him to be a nurse and for
Hmm.
him to afford and because he didn't want to have student loans,
Uh-huh.
he lives in his car. He just upgraded to like a caravan recently, but he
Uh-huh.
lived in a
Uh-huh.
mobile home. Or he lived in a car to mobile home to a little caravan now
Oh,
because like, hey,
okay.
I don't want to have student loans. So he's knocking out school, and you can see his YouTube is up. So if you
Okay.
believe it and you want it, sacrifice and humble yourself if you really want to do it, and anyone can do it.
That's that's amazing story. And see, this is what I like about the podcast. I wanna see what that came from because a lot of times we see you now and we see all the results and we see how popular you are and all these things, but we don't know where that came from. And it's very interesting. Most of the times when we look back, there was a point in our life, there was something that triggered us for us to say, hey, what about if I do something different? What if I change the path? What if I take the right instead of the left? Oh, what do I take this angle instead of that one? So I appreciate you sharing that part because it's definitely, and I've seen it with me. I had mentors early on that really make me see life different, and that is the reason why we're here today. So going back to 2003 when you got into the mortgage, let's step into that. What was it like for you? Like coming in, obviously you see this person killing it, making huge amounts of money for at that time, and you coming in as a brand new, like you said, telemarketer. What was that like? How do you
Of course,
feel?
we always look at the end of the rainbow. We never look at the journey to the end. And when I got into it, like I said, I sold everything. I rode the bus from Anaheim to Irvine, which was like
Right?
an hour and a half each direction. When I came home, I was so tired, I would fall asleep on the bus ride coming home. I
The
would have to
bus,
jump
right?
out of the bus and like it wasn't the last bus ride. I had to walk all the way home. So it just taught me a lot about sacrificing that, you know, there is always a journey. There are
Always.
the lucky ones, but most people are going to have to go through a journey. And I
Right.
think people don't think about, hey, there's a journey to get there. Everyone
Right.
sees, like I said, the end of the rainbow, but they never see the journey. And I think that really taught me, hey, no matter what else I do in life, if I want something, oh, I am mentally expecting. I have the managing my expectation. There's a journey. It's probably going to suck and be hard.
Right.
Instead of going there, it's just seeing the light in the tunnel. But okay, there's a journey. There's a journey. Just like tell myself that to start embracing it.
Right. And that's a beautiful part. I think when you embrace the journey and you learn that, okay, as I'm moving on through the process of this, I am learning, I am getting better, I am improving, I am feeding myself with, again, those positive thoughts, those good examples of people that have already done it. And I know that if they did it, I know if I be consistent enough, I could achieve their same results. And having that person next to you showing you the results, obviously, that it's, and I always say, once you see someone doing it, there's just now that you need to work on, because the results are there. Somebody else already did it. There is a proven
Yeah.
system that there's someone already making it happen. So now it's your turn to go out and make it happen for yourself. So if you were to go back and say, okay, man, you started in 2003, it was hard at the beginning. Is there any idea of any advice that you will give to yourself, started in the business, knowing what you know today?
Don't celebrate too early.
There you go. I love
Don't
that.
celebrate too early. When you start making your money, first thing number one, you got to do once you start making money, understand taxes to get your tax right. Understand how the tax system works. And once
Right.
you understand it, then you know how to maximize the taxes. I wish when I made money right away, I should have moved out as soon as, like, mom, I made it again. I'm back on top, right? The market crash, I moved back out. Like, I should have stayed home for 5 to 7 years, understand the tax code, understand how to receive money when I get paid, and buy rental properties instead of move out, go out again and have a normal life, and celebrated that, hey, I made it again. I wish I would have stayed home and, layer on investment properties and buy more properties so that you can withstand anything. Because if you're at that time, I was at home, I had no bills. So as soon as we make money, we want to celebrate and, like, get a nicer car, get more
Yes.
clothes, get whatever it is. We all want to celebrate. And then we
Yes.
think sometimes, oh, I need to feel that I worked hard. I need to see my accomplishments. I'm like,
Mhm.
you got to understand there's a journey. So don't celebrate too early because you're so early in your journey, you don't even know that. You think because you got a
Right.
little win, you're there. It's
Yeah.
years down the road. And if you understand that, then if you don't celebrate early and you know there's a journey, then you know how to manage your expectation because hard times will come, right?
Oh, always,
When you get
always,
smashed in
always.
the face, if that's when you will know, man, I should have built stronger and harder and for longer.
Foundation. I think the foundation and understanding where you're building, if you have a vision of where you're going, it'll give you, again, the opportunity to determine, okay, am I going too fast? And like you said, I think obviously we have to make our mistakes too. Then that's a part that I think the journey comes into place. Like we are learning as we're going. But thank you for giving that piece of advice. I think it's definitely a very good one because most people, again, they make the money, they spend the money. What do they say? Young and dumb. You make all
Yeah,
this money and
young
you will
and
spend it
dumb.
all.
Yeah,
And then as you get older, you realize, like, oh, shoot, I should have done this early on. I should have put my money here. But investing, one of the things that I always tell my loan officers, even again, as I have new ones, they always said, learn, again, money, understand that you have to invest a portion of it to be able to have financial freedom.
correct, correct. It was big for me in 2020, 2019, 2021. When the guys who got a social way at the same time I am, I think they're further on, but they're struggling right now because they celebrated
Too
and
soon.
they didn't reinvest. And
Yes.
we made money, we put it into um, training people better, we put it into making our company a legitimate company, making, like, fine tuning it, putting money into
Mhm.
ads, and
Mhm.
we're able to withstand the market. But during the time when everyone, like, 2020, think about it, 2020 rates just dropped to 2-3%.
Oh my
People
God.
were
Yeah.
people were celebrating, right?
Mhm.
They forgot about any journey, and
Yes.
that was, I think, the hardest thing for me was Especially I had a lot up until 2017, and I lost it all. So when I started winning, to this time not sell. I'm not celebrating. I'm just gonna keep my head down and keep pushing forward.
Keep going, and that's the part that I like about you. I think you're one of those few people that I've seen where you're doing great, but you're so humble. You're always working and saying, I'm staying on my line." You made a comment about a car when we first met one of the times, and you said, "No, I'm keeping my what is it, Jeep?"
Yeah,
You
I'm a Jeep.
commented.
Correct, correct. So in 2000 and
Tell me the story about the car, and why do you think Jeep is so important that you stay with your Jeep? Tell me.
so in 2011 when I got my Jeep, when I lost, we lost every like I built my career. I had a Jeep. All of a sudden, I went from no fundings, from barely any fundings, up until 68 million on my Jeep. Of course, when I got to
Right.
68 million, so in 2007, so in 2000, from 11 to 2014, 15, I got up to
Mhm.
60 million. And then when I got to 60 million, I went out, I got rid of my G. I'm like, you know what? I celebrated, right? I should have bought investment properties. I had a boat, a catamaran. I had a Bentley. I had a Lamborghini, and I had a Mercedes and a Porsche. I went from one Jeep to five toys, and I could have bought investment properties back then when it was so much cheaper. And I
Right.
celebrated. And of course, when times were tough, my Jeep didn't have payments to carry all those payments and all that. And even when I sold some of it, it was like I lost value. Like, oh my God, how did I lose value? And it was bad luck. And then when 2017 went around, I lost everything. In 2018, I went and I got a Jeep again. And I got my Jeep March 2018 when I sold my house, right? I
Okay.
got a Jeep. I had to put it under my mother-in-law name. But as soon as I got that Jeep, May 2018,
Started
my
funding.
social started taking off, and I started all my bills like rapidly. My bills were getting paid again. I'm getting cash flow again. So like, you know what? I am keeping the Jeep from now on.
And that part, that story really struck me. I'm like, wow, what a story about the Jeep and the cars and all of that. And sometimes, again, we all have that part. We're like, you know what? If I can just stick with this, I know it's gonna keep me going. So thank you for sharing that. I know, I had to ask you about it because it was very interesting and it really got me. Let me ask you one thing, personal. How do you describe men?
Uh, Courageous but scared at the same time.
Okay,
Uh, you
that's
know,
good.
I live, I am scared on the inside, but I'm more scared if I don't take that chance. So I'm
Beautiful
courageous
thing.
but scared. Like I'm afraid I'm gonna sink. If I put my foot on that water, I could sink. But I'll never. I'm more scared that if I do it, and I find out that I did not sink.
And you know what? That's beautiful because a lot of times I meet so many people where they have, and I see the potential and I see, all the possibilities, and they're not willing to take the risk.
Yeah,
They're not
my
willing to.
FOMO is stronger than my fear, but my fear is my FOMO.
There we go. And you know what? At the end of the day, I've always said it's better to try it and say, "Hey, it didn't work out. I tried. I put all my in, and it just didn't work out for me." But I think the regret of not trying or not giving yourself the opportunity to try something, it really goes with you. I listened recently to a podcast, and they were saying, "What is it gonna be the day that you're laying in bed and it's your last day? What are you gonna look back and think of?" All the chances you didn't take, all the
Yeah,
opportunities you didn't took on. Because again, we're always going to be, again, whether excited or not excited about the results of what we did, but the biggest regret is going to be not taking the chances, not taking the risk of trying something else. Thank you for sharing that. Moving on to another question, and I know a lot of people again see you on social media and you're very active. How did social media came about? Like it was just one day you woke up and said, "Hey, I'm gonna go try social media," or how did that came in to be so? I mean, it is your thing. I mean, you people know men
yeah.
by social media.
I think because everything else failed. So when
Okay.
everything else fails, you can either give up or keep searching for a different way. So in the beginning of 2017, that's when I saw like, hey, I'm losing everything.
Okay.
Okay, let me start originating again. So in
Hmm.
January, February 2018 is when I started originating again, but I did the same traditional marketing that most lenders do. I went to talk to real estate agents. I paid for Zillow. I had MSAs. I try to reach out to my old book. I, use my CRM.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did everything possible. I just wasn't getting anywhere. It's a lot. I'm like, man, things have changed. Or realtors, I'm not talking smack on them, but realtors are not reliable. It's not a reliable hose, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who's reliable is already partnered with an agent, been there for a long time, and it's to catch new blood is really hard. It's an anomaly to catch new blood, but not saying that it's
Mm-hmm.
not out there, but it's hard. So I was just like, man, something has to happen. I was on YouTube. There's this guy Ty Lopez who did that video about his Lamborghini, and what I learned through that video was paid advertising is really cheap right now. So
Okay.
using paid advertising through social media is like buying into Apple before the iPhone was released. So of course I'm like, what's this social media thing? There was
Mm-hmm.
no lenders. Everyone was kind of trying, but no one was consistent. So I jumped
Okay.
in, and I'm like, you know what? I can't keep like hoping that each team, like out of my 60 million, one by one, each team started leaving. Right, one or
Mm-hmm.
two teams
Mm-hmm.
left in 2016, and I was down to my last three teams, and they were slowly
Yeah.
leaving because these other companies were poaching them because they were doing, like, if someone's doing 10 million consistently, you're gonna get poached. And
Absolutely.
so surely, surely, time came and they all started leaving, and I started going all in on social, and I put myself first. And I don't even enjoy social. I do social because it pays the bills.
Okay.
And now I enjoy a little bit more, I think, because I'm in more control of my social. But back then, I was not in that much control because I did it to get out of a bunch of debt I was in. Like, man, it's like when you're trying to pay bills to get out, they're like, dude, you don't bring the joy. Then I went to a lot of big corporations that controlled my social, so you feel like someone controlled how you are. And then now I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot more control, so I enjoy it more now. But I did social back then because you might be good at it, but you didn't love it, but you had to pay all your bills.
Right.
And now I enjoy it, maybe because I don't have to. I'm not making all the money in the world yet, but soon. But because I don't have to think about the money anymore, and I can do what I
Right.
want because it's my page is more me now, and the way we do our loans now, the company, we're like how we're doing it. So it's just a lot more freedom now. So I enjoy a lot more now. But yes, I didn't enjoy it so we're gonna be so 2017 June was, so this was 6 years. So the first 4 years I did not enjoy it.
Oh, okay. And that's another thing, right? You do it because you have to do it, and it took you this long to get to the point where you're now enjoying it because now it's you. You don't have to follow no one else's script. You don't have to follow someone else's ideas. Now you're coming up with your own ideas, and you're enjoying it, and it's now projecting your even your personality. I feel like I see some of your stuff, and I'm like, that's so men.
Yeah, it's a lot different the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot more. I enjoy the social a lot more.
That's awesome. When it, and if you can feel it now, as you're doing obviously the business, and you just made a comment about it's coming, it's coming. I know you're working on a lot of projects that there again should be coming soon. What is the one thing you consider yourself so good at it? Like, what is your superpower?
I think my superpower, showmanship.
Okay.
Showmanship is my superpower. So
Yeah.
I learned that the product is not my superpower. Running a business is not my superpower. So now when I do business, I always have to find someone to run the business
Yes.
for sure. So I know, like, when my expectation, if I do something, I have a partner. I don't do anything. So now when I do something with a partner, I know what type of partner to look for and how to manage
Right.
my expectation and their expectation on what I'm looking for. So I
Yeah.
know that whatever I do, I require a partner because my skill set is showmanship. I'm not organized and I don't know how to run a business because I tried it and that's why I lost everything. So I know my strength and my weakness.
Bingo.
So
And oh my God.
showmanship is where I thrive. So camera showmanship, of course, I've increasingly gotten better. So now it's public showmanship. So I look for places to speak now, and I suck at it because I talk too fast. I don't enunciate correctly. There's no one editing my cuts. You can't be as theatrical because the camera is right here. But when you're in public, you got to walk with intentions,
Yeah.
enunciate, control the volume. So my next step is my showmanship live, and that's where I'm kind of focused. My strength right
What?
now is
Yeah.
mastering my showmanship on camera and in person.
That's amazing. And thank you for sharing that because a lot of times, again, in business, people think you have to be good at every single aspect of it. And I've learned a long time ago, too, that you have to surround yourself with the right people and you have to believe in partnerships, and you have to create relationships. You can't do it all by yourself. And whoever said that, that's true. I mean, I guarantee you, any business we look at today, there's always somebody behind doing different things, and the
Mhm.
person who's running in the front is doing what he's good at. So I've always said, find your talents, find your gifts, find where you're good at it, and you enjoy it too. Because at the end of the day, I always said, if you're gonna do something, it better be something you enjoy. Otherwise, you're gonna get burned out very,
Yeah.
very quickly. And it's nothing worse that you do something just because you need the money. And we talked about that. I'm nothing wrong with it. We do have to do it sometimes,
Mhm.
but it comes a point in life where you have to enjoy what you do. Otherwise, you're gonna not enjoy life
It's not
and not be
sustainable. If you
happy.
don't enjoy it, it's not sustainable.
Absolutely. And that's something that, I mean, I'm now passionate about my coaching, and that's my thing in the podcast and bringing up the stories. I get so much feedback. People are like, oh my god, I love the way this person, come out with his business, or was able to get successful at that business. So that's another thing that I'm enjoying nowadays. And obviously, family. Talk to me about family. You're such a, I love what you mentioned to me, and I want you to bring it up here because you have your little one, and he was on it before you came on, and I get to say hi to him. But he's so cute. Tell me about the family. How you're doing with that?
Good. My family's good. Like, my wife, she's Latina. She's from Chihuahua. I love her to death. So she's like 3 years younger than me. She was my real estate agent when I was her lender, and then of course she went from real estate.
Wow.
And she was a loan processor before, so she was my processor, and then I was her. We were doing loans together. She was dating someone else. I remember in my 30s, I just walked into my money,
Wow.
so
Look
it
at
was not a
you.
right
That's
time to be dating me. So she saw me through all my shenanigans. We became really good friends first. Then we became, boyfriend girlfriend. We had our son, and life is it's not perfect. We had our son first, and
of
then we
course.
got married. Just being honest with you,
Right, right.
and then now, you know, she is my backbone. I love her.
That's beautiful.
If there is a definition of forgiveness and patience, you would see her picture right there in the
Oh,
dictionary
that's so
under forgiveness and
beautiful.
patience. So she was patient. She saw the man that I would become one day, not the
That's
man that
amazing.
I was, and not the man that I am. I was at that moment. She
At
saw
that time.
he's gonna be this person. And you know what? Because of how my parents are, I told you about, we live in a box of how society should be. She
Absolutely.
believed in me before I believed. So like, I'm
That's
like, when she
amazing.
was my friend, she believed in me. Every time I lose anything, or I have my ups and downs, she believes, and
That is
she stands
amazing.
there with me, and I love her to death for that.
Amazing.
And then my
And
son is,
your son is doing amazing. He seems like I've seen some of your TikToks or some of your reels where he's part of your some of your videos, and that's amazing. You get him involved with you.
yeah, he wants to be a YouTuber. So we're we went
Working
over
on
what he
that.
wants to be. We talk about it a lot. I talk to him all the time, like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Okay, what are we doing to do that? If you
Right.
change your mind, it's okay. You're gonna change your mind. We just keep pushing forward. I just want him to be. I want him to feel that it's okay to dream for the stars and to reach. I mean, to reach for the stars, and that whatever's impossible is possible. Whatever has an idea, like, you can't do that. I'm like, oh, like, all right, you want to do that? Cool. This is how we're gonna do it. If you want to do it, all right, cool. Then we need to do this. It's never okay. Well, let's stop and not dream. Like, okay, if you want to do this, let's go for it.
That's amazing. And that's great
That's how
because
my
a lot of
wife was
times
with
when you
me, and the couple years she did that with me changed me. Imagine if I can feel
right.
that for my son for 18, 25 years, he can walk on
Mhm.
water and he can walk through walls.
Yes, and that's so important that we do that with our kids. And thank you for sharing it. I have a 13-year-old now who wants to be an attorney, and she is like, I want to do this. And I'm putting her all these different places where she can be exposed to, again, see the possibilities. I think our job as parents comes to be, again, supportive and encourage them, but also put them in places where they can see the possibilities. And I think you've been, again, in the business and the social media probably are the biggest influence on him, seeing you do what you do. Is he may able to see that through you? Maybe, I don't know, I'm just thought of that right now. But that's amazing that he thinks of YouTube. Look at that. That'll be great. Another question that comes to mind, and as we're moving on through this, what do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully in 5 years, like I said, the last 2 years I'm falling in love with social. Before that I wasn't in love with social. hopefully 5 years from now, I'm still doing social, but at a different, you know, more, I think, mentorship.
Okay.
I feel like I've seen so many people fall on their face, and I've seen people get hustled and burn through so much money to figure out their life. And I feel like I have so much knowledge, and like today, some guys like, hey, Min, should I buy this one program or this other program? I'm not gonna say the name of the people, but one of the programs, I know it
Uh-huh.
really well because I'm actually in the program. I don't know if I told you. I remember I told you the story. I'm in someone's program, and I'm not even getting paid for it. I didn't know they even put me in their program because I did their video with them, and they were gonna pay X amount for it. I'm like, don't do that. I'd rather have you take that money. Like he had 15 grand. I'm like, put 5 grand into figuring it
This.
out and learning, or have someone
Uh-huh.
train you, and use the
Mm-hmm.
other 10 grand to run ads on your own face to
Mm-hmm.
grow it, and then you'll have your own fate. You'll have your own book later on. Why put 15 grand in here when you're making them rich, but you're not going to get anything out of 15 grand? And I see these guys, these loaner, like I know the answer, and it sucks. It's like a lot of it are my peers charging people. Because I think I'm the one guy. If you guys, I don't have a course, I'm going to make one, but I'm going to make it cheap because the money's not in the course. The money's in
Uh-huh.
implementing it every day and actually budgeting your money. Like we're talking about investing in yourself
Mm-hmm.
to grow your audience. And if you
Right.
do that, and I see these guys paying $1,000 a month courses, 20 grand courses, 5 grand courses. I'm like, man, like it's easy for right now. It eliminates my competition because they're putting so much money into courses, and a lot of like, yeah, I think you should spend money on mentorship, but you should, there's a healthy balance. And I think eventually
Mm.
5 years from now, I'm in a better place where cool, I see this for a distance. You should do it this way. Hey,
Uh-huh.
if you're gonna make money like this, this is where you should invest your money, or do this as you're still a lender and a realtor right now, so you can not be a lender realtor fit 20 years from now. So you
Forever,
can,
right?
yeah, forever, unless you
Exactly.
want
And
to.
yeah, and that's the part I think we agree on, and you and I have the same idea of, mentorship others, obviously, and like you said, there are courses, there are all these things available nowadays, and some of them are extremely expensive. But at the end of the day, being able to get back and give some of the stuff that you already know that works, and teach someone else is beautiful. Just being able to give back and show possibilities, because again, going back to believing in yourself, a lot of times they don't believe in themselves, and it's like you see the potential, you see the possibilities, but they don't know where to start, they don't know how to navigate. Now you've been done, you've done it yourself, now you know what worked, what didn't work, and how can it be more effective. And again, I think you owe it to our community, and you owe it to yourself to obviously at one point get back and be a mentor, show other people how to do what you did. And that's again, however you want to put it through, whether it's a course, whether it's a class, whether it's, I don't know, I'm sure it'll come to you at the right time. So 5 years, that's what you see, still doing social media. Obviously lending, it's beautiful. I think lending, it's been what I see myself doing my again for a few more years. I don't see it doing forever. I think investing is so important. Setting yourself with different sources of income is important. What advice do you give to our loan officers today? Somebody coming into the business, what do you tell them?
Um, I think number one, understand how you want to get business. That will tell you what company to work at, because
Okay.
every company is going to have their own specialty. And once
Yes.
you figure out how much you're going to make, so you can figure out your rate of return.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's about the database. It's all about whoever gets the most data will win. Whoever can engulf the most data will win. I think
Perfect.
that is the recipe right there. I get this question asked probably 4 or 5 times a day in the DMs:
Uh-huh.
is what the type of business you want, you're at the wrong company. And that's why you can't be successful, because that company doesn't specialize in that. And then,
Right.
okay, you like at your rate, you're charging way too much, or your comp plan's way too high. Like
Mm-hmm.
that means you can't close consistent amount of business. Maybe you need to make some changes. So yeah, I see people go through that all the time, and I feel like if they understand those principles, they're going to be successful.
There you go. And again, new loan officers again come into, I think for me it's always been like, sometimes they come in thinking, oh, it's easy money. And you said it at the beginning, and I really want to go back to that a little bit. Journey. Remember, we're all gonna learn as we go, and there's stuff we're gonna have to go through. And unfortunately, there are things that you're gonna have to go through yourself in order for you to learn. Because even if we tell you do this, do that, you're still gonna have to make your own mistakes in order for you to learn what works for you. And not
Yes,
everybody is going
correct.
to do this. Not everybody's going to use the same model. Everybody has different talents. Everybody has different ways
Mm.
of doing business. For me, for example, is building relationships. I love connecting with people. I love the human connection, and it works really well for me. Not everybody's good at that, and
Yeah.
that's something we all need to learn at one point. That okay, here's my strengths, here's my weaknesses. Let me figure out how to put this together where I'm able to utilize other people's talents to get my business running the proper way. Um, Close enough. If there's anything you like to give to our audience in terms of quote, final
I say
thought.
take 30 days. If you are a if you want to save yourself money and you want to have time to do the in-person connection and do the social connection, learn AI. Learn learn AI. If you spend a month, 2 months engulfing yourself in AI, you'll create time, efficiency to run your business the way you need to, especially the way how much real estate is changing. That's my
Yes,
number one thing right now. Like learn AI.
beautiful said. So well, thank you again. I think it was good. It was easy. I wanted to just show who Mint was, and I think we were able to see that part today. I was able to take you back to the beginnings from Vietnam to
Yeah.
where he's at today. I loved your story. Thank you so much for sharing it. I know so many people will get inspired by it, and I am so honored and grateful to be able to get to know you and just share the space with you today. So thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Level Up Podcast. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere else podcasts are found, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, you can leave a 5-star review on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Until next time, we hope you level up.